Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here with the third installment of my Would I Repurchase These Random Singles. So I've been doing this series on my channel just to share a bit more of my singles collection, and I really enjoy doing this myself. It's a good practice for myself to see what I like and what I will repurchase, which will hopefully ultimately kind of cave some of my kind of purchasing desires, things like that. Just because I can see what I already have in my collection and see what I actually would repurchase again. Because it's something that I wouldn't repurchase again. Why would I buy something similar if I see it on the market today? So this is a really good exercise for me to do, and yeah, I've just been loving doing it. So this is going to be the third installment. I'm going to go ahead and randomize 10 singles, which I will discuss through and let you know if I will repurchase them or not. But before I jump into the video, if you're new here, please consider subscribing. I would love to have you in the family. Let's jump into the video. So I have my 10 decisions right here with my single shadows, and I'm just going to go ahead and randomize some things to see what I get. The first thing is going to be Coronation from Cleona. The second shade is going to be Colourpop Bombay. Okay, that is actually a single. Some of my Colourpop shades are not singles, they're the powder shades, but this one is a single. Sunlight, the Pastel Roses. Okay, that's 3. Mom Ride from Sydney Grace. That's 4. Dark Chocolate from Sydney Grace. 5. Keystone from Cleona. Okay, that's 6, right? I think that's 6. Yes, so the 7th shade will be The Shallows from Sydney Grace. We have number 8, Gargoyle from Cleona. We have 2 more to go. We'll see what we get. Aura from Cleona. And I believe the last shade is going to be Sandblast Light from Cleona. Okay, let me check. So that's 10. Yes, that's 10. So I'm going to go off camera. I'm going to get these 10 eyeshadows and we're going to talk you through them with you guys. So I'm back and I picked out my 10 shadows. They are right here. I always love the color story I get. I feel like I always get very interesting color stories when I randomize them. But yeah, I really like how this is looking, but let's go through each shade in order. So the first shade we have is this one right here, which is Coronation from Cleona. This is one of their vibrant multichrome lines. And this is a beautiful kind of corally pink. It's like a warm toned pink that goes into gold to green. And I think that's mainly the shift I can see in here. It's a really, really stunning shade. And I will also have the swatches, of course, rolling. But originally when I looked at this one, I thought, I don't know. It's quite a standard shade. It doesn't look the most shifty. However, looking at it, I feel like it is definitely something that I would repurchase because these are the type of shades that I really love. I love kind of pink to golds with a little bit of a hint of green in them, which this one has. And this one is quite a unique tone of the pink too. It has a bit more kind of, again, like warm corally undertone, which is something that I really like. So this is definitely one that I really do enjoy. And even though I don't feel like I've used it enough, I haven't used it as much as I would have liked to, but looking at it, I feel like I would 100% repurchase this one again. The second shade is from Colourpop, and this is the shade Bombay. I think I said Bombay last time, but it's the shade Bombay from Colourpop, which is one of their press glitters. This is like this orangey kind of shade that you can see right there. It is not my favorite. I don't really reach for press glitters anymore. I did really like these back in the day, and I feel like these were some of the best press glitters, but I just feel like I don't reach for them anymore. The only reason why I would really use this one, I think now, is just on my nails. So I wouldn't get this one again because I just don't reach for these type of shadows anymore. And even though it is pretty and it is one of the best like pressed glitter formulas, it's not the best though, but pretty good, I wouldn't purchase it again just simply because I don't use it. The third shade we have to talk about comes from the Pastel Roses, and this one is in the shade Sunlight, which is a beautiful, beautiful shadow. This has very kind of sheer, almost sandy base with a green and pink with some blue kind of shift inside of it. It's really, really stunning. I like this one quite a bit because you can pack it on over your lid as more kind of impact, or you can use it on the corners or more as like watercolor. And this is actually one that lives in my favorite eyeshadows palette right now. So I made like a favorite palette, and this one lives in there because I just really, really enjoy this shadow. Is it unique to my collection? Probably not, but I still really like it. I like how reflective it is. I like how again buildable it is, and I love the shifts in the shadow. So I would probably repurchase this one again, unless I could find a dupe, but for now I'm going to say that I would repurchase it because I do really like both this formula as well as the shade of this. It's one of my favorite shifts, so this one would be a repurchase. We're going to have two kind of more neutral Sydney Grey shades next, and first up we have this shadow, which is called Mom Ride. This is a really unique undertone shadow. It is kind of like a brown, but it has a little bit more of a, I don't know, it's like a white undertone. I don't know, it's very, very unique, I feel like, for a brown. Do I have this shade in my collection? Probably, but it is unique to my single collection, and it feels like it would be silly keeping a brown like this, but I do really like this shade and I love the Sydney Grace formula. And looking at it, I know that I don't really have anything similar to this in my singles collection, so I feel like I would repurchase the one again just because it is a really, really beautiful shadow. It's versatile. You can use it in your crease or you can build it up on the outer corner. It is that kind of right in between like medium type of color. So yeah, I feel like this is one that I would repurchase. It is like a bit of a boring one, but it is definitely a useful shade. So I do think I would purchase having this one in my collection. So I have decided this one is a repurchase. The second Sydney Grey shade, the other brown, is this shade right here, which is a dark chocolate. This is definitely darker and more cool toned than Mom Ride. This is kind of like your standard neutral to cool toned deep brown shade. It is a nice formula. It is Sydney Grey's, which is a really, really good, yeah, again, formula, and it blends really nicely. I really love working with them. However, the shade is very standard. It's nothing like special about it, and I feel like I have better deepening up shades that are a little bit more unique from Sydney Grey's. So this one, even though it is pretty, even though I feel like I can get a lot of use out of this shade, I probably wouldn't repurchase it because it is a little bit too redundant in my collection. So this is one that I would not repurchase. So we have a couple greens coming up, and first out of those three greens is this shade right here, which is from Cleona. This is one of their pastel multichromes in the shade Keystone. This is quite a like subtle type of multichrome. It has almost like a bluish gray base with a green to purple shift, but again, it is more of a subtle shade. It is really pretty, but I feel like it's a little bit too cool toned for what I reach for, and it's also a little bit more subtle. I do reach for subtle shades now, but I feel like even though it's like subtle, it still is colorful because it has that kind of grayish bluish base and then green to purple shift. So it doesn't really have much, for me, neutral about it. But I do feel at the same time that, I don't know, it is pretty. But I feel like I have better shades in my collection, also that's similar to this. So even though it is a pretty shade, I don't think I will purchase this one again, just because, again, I have other things that I prefer, and I don't reach for this one very often. The second out of those greens is this shadow right here, which comes from Sydney Grace again. This is the shade The Shallows, which is a beautiful kind of warm green base, which has a little bit of a turquoise kind of, I don't know, hint to it at a very harsh angle. But it's like a green with a gold shift running through it, and it is really stunning. It's one that I actually didn't pick up myself. I got this one as a free gift with purchase, so the repurchase thing doesn't really apply the same with this shadow. But would I buy this one today if I didn't have it? I feel like even though this is a beautiful shadow, I do think it's really, really, really pretty. I actually really like this shade. Even though I think it's stunning, I don't think I would purchase this again because I feel like I have similar shades to this in my singles collection from like Cleona and things like that. But those are way more shifty. So I would probably rather reach for like a shifty version of this one. Even though this has like a gold shift running through it, it's not the most shifty shade. So I probably have this type of shadow in a multi-chrome rather than in this kind of duochrome. So yeah, I love having this one in my collection, but I wouldn't repurchase it because I would prefer to have something a bit more shifty. So we have 3 shadows left to go, and those are all from Cleona. Next up is the last of those greens, but it might not look very green on screen for you. It looks maybe like a bit more gray, but I promise you this shade is green. This is the shade Gargoyle, which is one of the jeweled multichromes. This is a very, very unique shadow. I don't have anything like it. It has kind of like a gray, people used to describe it as mauve, but I feel like it's mainly just like a gray kind of shift straight on with a grass green, a blue, a purple kind of shift all throughout it. It's very, very shifty, and it's a stunning shadow, to be fair. It does have that kind of black base, which is something that I don't reach for very often because they are just too deep for me. However, this is such a stunning shadow, and it is so unique. It has that kind of, you can see it right there, like a steel kind of gray shade. And yeah, I do really like this shadow just because it is so unique, but I don't reach for it very often. So that kind of is the dilemma I have, because do I have to repurchase something that I don't reach for very often? Probably not. But I do feel like because it is so unique, this is probably one of the few jewel multichromes I would repurchase just to have as like a liner, or even as a deeper nap shade in my outer corner, or as an all over the lid shade. I feel like I would repurchase this one. So it is a little bit shocking because these Cleona deep kind of jewel multichromes, it's not something that I reach for very often, but I think I would repurchase this specific one. So the next shadow we have is again from Cleona, and this is one of their iridescent shades. I think this is from the series 2 iridescent, which is the shade Aura. This is a beautiful kind of pink to peach to gold to green kind of shifty shadow. It is super stunning, and I do really like this shade, but I do probably have similar shades to this one in my collection. I do really like it. But just looking at it, I was originally going to say I will keep it because I love these type of shifts, but I know that I have similar shadows in my collection from other brands. I think I have 1 or 2 from Terra Moons that are quite similar, so I probably wouldn't need it if I lost it. But it is one of my favorites. You know what? I think what I would do is I wouldn't repurchase this straight away, but I would probably like use some of my other shades and then eventually purchase this one again. But initially, I'm going to say it's not going to be a repurchase just because I have similar shades and I probably couldn't justify buying it again. But if I lost like my whole collection, I would purchase this one again. But if I lost this specific shade, I probably wouldn't right now. Apart from like, obviously, if I lost this one shade from Cleona, I would probably buy that one again because I do have like the full stained glass collection. But just looking at this as a standalone shadow with like the collection that I have, not taking consideration that I want to have like the full stained glass collection, I wouldn't repurchase this one again. So I do love this shadow. Don't take this as I don't like this shadow because I do really love it, but I just have too many other things similar to this in my collection. The very final shade that we have comes from Cleona again, and this is one of their jeweled light multichromes. This is the shade Sandblast, which is a beautiful, beautiful kind of orangey red shadow. This has again that kind of orangey red shift straight on that goes into more of a true orange, into a gold, into a green at a harsh angle, and it is a super stunning shadow. It is one of the jeweled lights, which means that it has a lighter base than the regular jeweled multichromes. However, this one is still a little bit deeper, but I would much rather reach for these type of shadows than the jeweled multichromes. So for example, if they ever release Gargoyle light, I would 100% buy that one over Gargoyle, if that makes sense. But this is not like one of my favorites because it is a little bit deeper. However, it is a super stunning shift. I do really like the shift of this one, and it's super reflective. It's super like metallic. It has some sparkles to it, but it's like a very like fine sparkle. So yeah, I love the shadow. It isn't my like most reach for jewel light, but I still really, really like having this one in my collection, and I do think this is something that I would purchase again because I do prefer these to those kind of deeper black base multichromes, and you still get the same type of impact and shift with these. So yeah, this would be another repurchase. So those were the 10 shadows. Let's look at them again and see which ones I would repurchase and which ones I wouldn't. So we would have repurchase, not repurchase, repurchase, and repurchase. So one on the top row I would not repurchase, which is this one right here. On the second row, there's definitely more non-repurchase. So I would not repurchase this deep brown. I would not repurchase this kind of green shade right here, nor this green shade right here. So all three of those would not be repurchased. However, this one right here, I would repurchase. And then for the last two shades, I would have a not repurchase and then a repurchase at the very end. And those are the 10 shadows, which is funny because that is split right down in the middle, which I think happened last time too. I can't remember in the first video, but I think it's a pretty even split. I would repurchase half of these. I would not repurchase the other half. So that is going to be it for my video today. I really hope you enjoyed this one, and let me know if you're liking the series and if you want me to keep it going. I'll post it maybe like once or twice a month in that case. But yeah, let me know what you think and if you want to keep seeing this video. But other than that, I hope you guys are having an amazing day wherever you are, and I will catch you in my next one. Bye guys.